What is going on, my nooby doobettes, and thank you for tuning back into the Noob Network. It is the one and only, the Noob and Hard. So today we're going to go over my feelings, my opinions, my thoughts of the game Icarus. I have over a couple hundred hours of gameplay now, playing solo and playing online, and I've come to a decent consensus. I think that's what it is. Census. Whatever. I've come to develop an opinion or a feeling about the game. By the way, I do have some gameplay playing in the background. I understand it starts off in a dark place, but it gets going pretty quick. Now, there's a few things about the game that I like. There's a few things about the game I don't like. Now, the game is early release. It did come out last Friday, I believe. It was last Friday. It might have been the week after that. But the game, first off, started off very glitchy. There was quite a bit of glitches in the game at the very beginning. There was issues joining into parties. There was issues just moving in general. But they've been coming out with quite a bit of updates. The updates have been almost every day, if not every other day. A few of the glitches that we were running into is certain spots of the map you would just glitch out. I don't know why. Again, the developers did put a post on their page stating that they weren't anticipating as many users to this game that they end up getting. So we started off playing multiplayer, me and a group of friends that you can actually see in the Icarus Online Let's Play. Go check that out if you want to. You can see some of those glitches. I did capture some of those glitches. But you can see that there was movement issue, there was some graphic issues, and a lot of it took away from the gameplay, and it really didn't make the game very enjoyable at the beginning. Now, what did help the game, at least in my aspect, what did help the game is the fact that I was playing with friends, right? So we were all embracing the suck together. We were all having the same issues. We were all experiencing the same parts of the game. Now, one of the biggest, I wouldn't call it a downside to the game, but one of the biggest factors to how well you like or experience the game is your computer specs. Now, this game is very hardware spec specific, and if you are running on lower spec gear, i.e. like your graphics card, you will experience this game completely different than your friend who may have like the latest and the greatest. So because of that, it is very driven on your hardware, and that's right out of the gate. So with having lower hardware, your game experience right out of the door will not be what you anticipated, right? The plus side to that is if you do have lower end gear and your computer can run it, but it doesn't look the greatest, I would recommend it probably play with friends, because it would kind of take away from the fact that it's not the best. Now, with lower end gear, you're probably going to be looking at a graphics degrade, not so much as gameplay degrade. Now, kind of piggybacking off of that, another issue that we ran into early on in the game is we ran into quite a few crashes, and even, let's say, even a week after, we were still running into server issues where the server was just overloaded and it couldn't hold everybody that was trying to play it. But the game is beautiful. It is very beautiful. There's not a single part in this map that's not gorgeous. It is very, very, very beautiful. It was crafted beautifully. All of it is created directly from the designers themselves, from the developers. None of it was like computer animated or generated or however you want to say it. But outside of that, it is a beautiful game. So if you are somebody who likes survival games, let's say like games like Rust, this takes Rust to like a whole nother level, right? There's a very lot of realism in this game that you can't help but appreciate it. Like, if you're in water at night, you start to get cold, right? And That's a minor detail, but it adds to the level or the immersion effect. Let's say that it adds to the immersion effect of the game, right? Now, like I said, I had a chance to play solo and I had a chance to play online. Now, when I played online, I didn't really pay too much attention to my surroundings. It was, my group of friends playing, living our lives, and just having a good old time. But when I started playing solo, that's when I started to respect the game a lot more. The audio, the graphics, how you interact with everything it's so in tune and it's so fine-tuned, even with all the glitches that are in the game. It is so fine-tuned. Like, when you're out solo, you just kind of get grabbed into your surroundings. Like, when you hear the wind blowing, you can hear the trees rustling, you can hear the grass rustling, you can hear the different predators or the animals, the deers, the bears, the wolves. You can hear them going through the grass, and it really does set the scene, and it really does set the scenario for you that, like, you're alone on this planet. That is the biggest thing, or the biggest pro, I would say, to playing solo. Like, you really have that feeling that you're alone on this planet. Granted, yes, you know it's a video game because you loaded it up on your computer, but when you get in about 10 minutes or so, you can feel like you're on this planet personally. And then when, shit starts to hit the fan, when you get into a storm, when you get ready to fight a bear or fight a wolf, you find yourself, like, you find your heart racing because you feel like you're in that situation. Like, what would I do? How do I do this? And then also, when you're on multiplayer, it's never good to die in this game. If you die in this game, you get an XP debuff where you gain XP slower, right? And then you have to build your XP bar back up past that threshold of the debuff, and then you can gain XP at a normal level. Well, that also happens in solo. But where I was going with this is when you die in multiplayer, you can stay where you are, have a teammate come pick you up, and you get to kind of really bypass or negate that XP debuff. But in solo, if you die, there's no picking you back up. You go back to respawn. And if you die early on in the game before you're able to build a bedroll and a campfire, you're going to respawn back at your drop point. Not only does that happen, but you also lose anything that you might have had. So if you were getting ready to create that bedroll or that campfire or that shelter, all the materials, your wood, your fiber, your leather, your bones, whatever it may be, you lost it all. Now, it's not lost completely. You just have to go back to your death spot, pick up the little crate there, which is going to hold all the items you had. But if you died in a certain spot, let's say traveling, or in the instance of the gameplay that's behind this commentation or this commentary, there we go, making up words now. I was actually in the process of getting to a buddy who had died somewhere. I dropped in a drop pod. We were in a desert, as you can see, and it was heavily loaded with predators, cougars, bears, wolves, boars, elephants, loaded. And I died about 5, 6, 7 times, hence why the channel name is the Noob Network, because, Noob and hard, that's me, yep, one and only. But I died multiple times. But once you die, you have to respawn. And my buddy in the gameplay behind me was very far, and I died like 5 times trying to get to him. And we just end up respawning and just doing it together as a group. And that's one of the biggest benefits to also playing on multiplayer. I know I'm flipping back and forth here. I'm just trying to do a compare and contrast between online and multiplayer, and then my overall feel of the game. But that's another thing about this game, is if you are playing multiplayer, a lot of the missions, a lot of the traversing that you have to do through the map becomes a lot easier. You have another set of eyes to kind of help point out or call out predators in the map, especially when it comes to fighting things like bears, saber-toothed tigers, cougars, wolves, whatever it may be. That just having another set of eyes is great. On solo player, however, it's all on you. So you find yourself a lot of times doing something and then like looking around, right? I found myself when I first started off doing my solo play, I was like harvesting wood to build my first shelter, and I would like chop down a tree and then I'll hear something and I'll like stop, look around, then I'll go cut down another tree, stop, look around. Like, if you go back and check out my solo play, my Icarus solo play, you will see that that's what I did. And you do it so frequently because, again, the game, it just sucks you in. It has such a great immersion effect that you forget that you are playing a video game. I promise you forget that you're playing a video game, right? Now, a few things about the game that I would like to see, or I think that would improve the gameplay or improve the immersion effect. A lot of them have to do with the multiplayer system. I haven't really found too much yet on the solo play. The few things that I did find on the solo play, they have already fixed in current patches. The few things on the solo play were like the tech tree and the skill tree not being able to craft. So that you find yourself a lot of times trying to craft something, but you're fiddling with the scroll to be able to see the other different tech that you can craft, and then you have a predator run up on you and you die because you're in your menu screen. Small things like that. But when it comes to the multiplayer system of it, or the online system of it, since you can have up to 8 people in the game, I only run with a group of 4, sometimes 3, sometimes 2. But what I would think would improve the immersion effects a lot in this game is being able to have roles, right? Now, currently in my online play, a lot of us, or not a lot of us, but my group, we kind of determined each other's role kind of when we started, right? You'll be a hunter, you'll be a gatherer, you'll be a builder, you'll be a medic. We said those things, right? And it's up to the players, obviously, to stay within those roles or to play their part in that role. But I would think if that was implemented in that fashion, it would also, again, improve or boost the immersion effect. So let's say if I was a medic, I would be able to only craft medical supplies as far as like splints or antibiotics, anti-poison paste, whatever it may be. Anything along the lines of being a medic, I would be able to create those, right? And then I would also be able to create them faster. And then I would be able to apply them. So currently in the game, if you want to say you're a medic and you want to play the role of a medic, if something happens to your buddy, let's say he falls off a cliff, he gets a broken leg, he needs a splint. Boom, I have a splint. But in order for my buddy to use a splint, I have to drop it, he has to pick it up, he has to apply it. But what would it would be better if I was playing the role of a medic, I had the splint and then I applied the splint. Do you see how much more that would affect the immersion effect? Like, you see your buddy down, I come over, I crouch down, apply the splint, and then the debuff or the buff from the splint then applies to your buddy. That would be better than saying, hell, I have a splint, drop it on the ground, you pick it up, and you apply the splint to yourself. Or let's say if you're a hunter, right? With a hunter, you should have an automatic buff, automatic damage buff. Or you would have the ability to create bows, spears, axes, knives, pistols, whatever it is, you should be able to have that. And then you should also get through your tree, obviously. This shouldn't be things that you just get from automatically being a role. Like, I shouldn't automatically be able to instantly heal somebody. I should also go through the skill tree. So like at the beginning, let's say it will take 10 seconds to apply a splint, but going through the skill tree, I may be able to get down to applying a splint in, let's say, like 3 seconds or so, something like that. But if you were a hunter, you would go through your skill tree and you would have like damage buffs, like your bows do this much damage at this level or this much when you upgrade, as well as you would have things like a stamina boost because you're a hunter, you're going to be running around a lot, so you would have a stamina boost, right? Or like if you were a gatherer, you would have the role of being a gatherer, you would get increased resource gain. You would also get increased stamina gain, so you can hold more, or you can farm whatever you're farming a little bit more. Like if you're going for an iron deposit, you'd be able to do more swings before your stamina drains. Or if you're cutting down trees, you'd be able to cut down more trees before your stamina drains. You could also have things like the ability to have a weight increase. So let's say everybody in the game normally would have, let's say 100 kg weight that he can carry, and then you'll say your medic can only carry like 80 kg because they're going to be a little bit more lightweight. They're carrying medical supplies. But then your gatherer, obviously going through the skill tree and upgrading that, would be able to hold like maybe 200 kg. They'll be able to create a backpack so they can carry more. They'll be able to hold more oxygen, hold more water, things like that. Like those things where if you have role-specific bonuses, I think that would increase the immersion effect, as well as when you have roles like that, don't allow them to all be able to do the same thing. Like my medic shouldn't be able to do the same amount of damage as my hunter. Granted, it's a survival game, so your medic should be able to handle a bow or handle a spear or axe or a gun. They should be able to handle those things. But let's say for a hunter, it takes 2 headshots to take down a wolf. Whereas for your medic, maybe you need to take 8 headshots, because your medic, they're not trained into being a killer, a hunter, right? But your hunter is. So they should really incorporate roles in the game. And I think that would be great. It would really make the team building factor amazing. Now, if they're gonna go that route, they would have to separate it between single player and online. Obviously, if you're gonna do single player, you're gonna need all the roles. You're gonna need the ability to heal yourself, gather, hunt, build, all that good stuff. But if you're gonna play online, and I think that it would be great. This is the tricky part about doing something like that. If you're gonna do that, then you're gonna have to make a requirement into how many people can go, right? So if you're gonna have the role of a hunter, a gatherer, a builder, and a medic, maybe you would have a requirement of 4 people to be online. Or what you can do, because they kind of already do it now, obviously, all roles, well, there's not roles, it's just characters, can do everything. But again, it is a survival game, so everybody can do something. Everybody can do what the other person can do, but not to that extent. So again, let's say a medic and a builder. Let's say a builder is building a house or a structure or lodging or whatever you want to call it. They're building it. They put up a wall. Let's say that builder puts up a wall in like 2 seconds. And then your medic goes up and put up a wall. Then your medic could probably have to put it up in like 10 seconds, right? So it should be buffs and debuffs to these things. And I think that is what is needed to bring that online play, to really just make it pop, to make it stand out, to make you really feel it. Because as of right now, again, like I said, my group, we are doing it, but we're doing it on just like hearsay type of thing. Like, okay, I'm the medic, guys, so I'll craft all of our medical paste, our antibiotics, our splints, our bandages, or whatever, right? But that doesn't stop any of my other teammates from creating those same things. So I think that's what should be the buff. Like, yeah, they should be able to create it. There's nothing saying, oh, because I'm a builder, I can't create it. No, definitely. They should have the ability to create it, but it should be less effective. It should be less effective. If my bandage can heal you for 100% health, your bandage should be able to only heal you for like 20%. You get what I'm saying? Like, it should not be to the same quality of that specific role, so that way it would be more important to have that person play their role, right? It should be more important. Like, a hunter can bring back a whole animal, whereas somebody who's not a hunter should only be able to bring back a quarter of that. So if you're playing a group and the group needs food, don't send your builder or don't send your medic to go get food, because they're going to need to have to make 4 or 5 trips. Send your hunter who can take a gazelle or antelope or elephant, skin the whole thing, and bring back all that meat. That is what I'm talking about. Those are things that would make the game great on multiplayer. Would make it great on multiplayer. The respawn system, I personally, so the way they have it currently in the game for the respawn is if you create a bedroll, you respawn at that bedroll. Okay, I understand that. But there's so many aspects in this game that are realistic, and then there's some that are not. So if we're gonna go on the lines of being realistic, if we die in the wilderness, and let's say somebody comes to perform CPA'd, we're not gonna respawn at our house in our bed. No, absolutely not. We're gonna respawn in that location, right? I think they should change the respawning if you die, but create a massive debuff, therefore kind of discouraging respawning and causing you to rely on your friend, or i.e. point at topic or topic at point, relying on your medic friend to come revive you. And if your medic friend revives you, then you receive less of that debuff, right? So if I were to die, I just choose to respawn and not wait for my friends, I should get a health reduction, I should get a stamina reduction, I should get a base movement speed reduction, as well as I should be able to pick up my stuff, because you can obviously do that, but you should also have maybe that gear have 50% durability now. It shouldn't be as effective because you're hurt, you're wounded, right? You won't be able to use that equipment as effectively as if you were at full health, full food, full oxygen, full water, right? Now they do a great job on when you die, your resources, your food, your water, and your oxygen, that is reduced, right? That's reduced. That's good. That should stay in place. But then they should give you, like I said, health should be much lower, stamina should be much lower, speed should be lower. So that way you can rely on that medic to get you back up. You know, if you died from a fight from a cougar, I should have to come up to you, apply a sutures kit, which then would stop the bleeding, give you a bandage, and then probably give you, like, I don't know, morphine or something to get your health back up, and then, I don't know, antibiotics to stop any kind of diseases that you might have gotten. Those are things that I think that they can add, and I think they're right there with them. Like, they're right there. It's just not role specific. And I'm thinking having it role specific would be what the game needs on the multiplayer to make it just stand out more. Because there's a bunch of survival games online that you can play with friends, but being able to have that system in place, I think would just leave those other survival games in the dust. Because if not, they all play the same basically. You know, You get your group of friends, you load into the game, you build your shelter, you build your weapons, you build whatever it may be, and you go out and you do whatever it is. This game, what kind of sets it apart for games like Rust is it is mission based. The other games are more PvP type based, so like you roam the world, you destroy somebody else's base or whatnot. And you know what? Speaking of that, actually, let me just kind of cut into here. This is something that actually caught my eye to Icarus, is that it is open world, just like all the other survival games. But it's just you and your friends. You don't have to worry about the next group of people across the map coming over and destroying you, right? Granted, is that realistic? Yes. But also, is it realistic for four survivors to come to an alienated planet and survive? Absolutely. So I think both systems work just fine. But again, it kind of full circle here. It needs to have the roles in place. It's got to. It's got to. Now, another thing that I find that needs some improving in this game, and I think it's backwards myself, the developers may have a reason for this, is not the durability, but like the quality of some of the equipment. So let's take, for instance, the arrows in the game. There's stone arrows, bone arrows, and I think like titanium and platinum arrows, if I can recall. I can't recall, but I think, or aluminum arrows, something like that. We should not have our bone arrows stronger than our stone arrows. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense to me, right? Because you could take like a stone hammer and break bone, but you can't take like a bone hammer and break stone. So I think that needs to be tweaked a little bit, or kind of just reworked. So therefore, in the way of progression, it should be bone then stone, not stone then bone, right? Because you can get the stone is obviously something you have to harvest or find or look for. So is the bone. So it should be in that order. As well as, because of that, I think everybody should be kind of started with like an axe, a pickaxe, and a knife. Because again, you're not being created out of thin air. So there's no reason for you to be coming empty-handed, right? If we're coming from like, technically from Earth, then to like a space station, then from the space station down to Icarus, why would I come empty-handed? Why? Anywhere else, if you're going backpacking, or if you're going somewhere you don't know, you're bringing a what? Most likely a survival kit. And in that survival kit, you have the bare necessities, right? You have like string, flint, something to catch on fire, for the lack of words. I can't think of the name of it. You have some type of like a knife or a machete or something like that, or like a Gerber. You also have like a first aid kit. Those things you have in real life starting off. Now, they have those things in this game, but again, you have to create it. Why am I creating this stuff if I'm coming from a space station in a pod that clearly has plenty of space for me to hold like a little survivor's kit? Like, you can go to Walmart and buy a survival's kit for $5, put that on your back or put it in your pocket or something, go to the space station, take it to the drop pod and drop to Icarus, and now you got this $5 Walmart survivor's kit there. So now I have flint, I have a knife, I have a first aid kit with some terrible ass band-aids in it and a gauze that's good for like her pinky toe. Like, why can't I have that to start with? Now, I know it sounds like I'm ranting on the game, and it sounds like I'm like telling you that this game is terrible, right? No, absolutely not. Those are my things that I think would make the game better. Those are things that I would think would keep people from uninstalling the game. Those are things that I think would bring more people to the game, right? There's tons of pros in this game. Again, the game is, for the most part, I would say like 95, 99, maybe 85% of the time is extremely realistic. There's a day and a night system. So during the day, like if you're in the desert, it's extremely hot. At night in the desert, it's extremely cold. If you go into water, you risk running hypothermia. That's great. That's amazing. There it is. Again, more of the immersion effect. Like if you're crouching when you're next to an animal, the animal doesn't notice you. And then if you go to the skill tree, you have the ability to increase your effectiveness at crouching or being stealthy. Therefore, the animal doesn't notice you even more. Great. Perfect. That's what you like to see. You have the weapon system, not the weapon system, but like the crafting system, or like having an axe. If you have a bone axe or a stone axe, it takes you longer to break something down than if you had a steel, iron, or a platinum, not a platinum, a titanium or aluminum. Like that progression system is great. The leveling system, take it or leave it, however you want it. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's not good. How they're choosing to... So, let's break it down. The good part about the leveling system is everything you do in the game does create some type of XP. Now, whether that's good XP or bad, meaning 1 XP for doing this particular activity or 3,000 XP for doing this particular activity, I think that is good. I think that's good. And again, tying that into the role system could greatly also improve. So if I'm a gatherer and I'm gathering wood, I should get more XP than the medic who's gathering wood. You see how this kind of all just ties back into itself? Now that's the thing for the developers. Are they going to watch this video? Maybe, maybe not. Will they take some of this input into consideration? Maybe, maybe not. At the end of the day, it is their software. It is their game. Now, if the community enough is requesting these features, now it may be something that could be implemented in the future. But like I said, there's pros and cons to everything. And this game, to only be a week, maybe a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks old, is great. And the developers are doing an amazing job to fix a lot of their issues quickly. And I mean quickly. There's, like I said earlier in this video, there is updates almost every day, every other day, maybe every 2 days. Something is being fixed, something is being improved, something's looking better. Now let's kind of fall back on ourselves here. Back to hardware real quick. Now, when it comes to the hardware, like I said, it's going to come down to your graphics card. And it's something to note when these graphics companies who are creating these cards are creating drivers specifically for a game. Now, I know on this when you download the software or the driver, it says it's for multiple games, but it is not. I promise you. Or at least in my case, I don't know about your case, but at least in my case, I had to go actually download a driver from NVIDIA that was specifically for Icarus, and boy oh boy, it improved my gameplay a lot. Outside of the server issues, because like I said, there has been multiple servers that went down and they've tried to move them over, and you know, they do what they can. I mean, it happens when you're a server-based game and you're a new game. You can never really determine how many people are going to play your game, right? You can build to hold 100 people, then you get 100,000, or you can build to hold 100,000 and you only get 100. It's a guessing game, and all you can do is when you run into that wall, you know, you go either stop at the wall and turn around and go back, or find a way to go up, over, or around, or even under that wall. But the goal is to get through that wall, and they have done that. Like when the servers went down the very first time, they actually moved the servers to a different server, a different backup server that could handle a little bit more, and it was good. It at least got us through the night for the most of the part. But then when everybody started to log back on, that got kicked off because the server went down, we ran back into that issue. Needless to say, since then, this was like the first night, second night that happened. Since then, they've rectified the issue of the servers to where we really haven't ran into a server issue. We ran into one just recently, and it was only down maybe 30 minutes, 20 minutes. So, I mean, I promise you, those developers, the tech guys, the design team, they are doing their damn thing on keeping this game up, running, and smooth. I cannot recommend this anymore because it's an amazing, right? It's amazing. If you've never played a survival game, I would start with this one. This is the one I would start with. This is the one I'd recommend. It's amazing. I'd give you my views, my opinions, my thoughts, things that I don't like, things that could be improved, and things that they have improved. Take it how you want, with a grain of salt, I guess. And you make your decision on if you want to buy this game or not. It's amazing. I recommend it to everybody, to anybody who wants to play a survival game. I definitely recommend it. Icarus. To go along with some of this that I've been talking about, definitely go ahead and check out my Icarus solo Let's Play and my Icarus multiplayer online Let's Play, so you guys can kind of understand the things that I'm talking about, so you can kind of see where I'm coming from, and then kind of just picture what I'm saying with that gameplay, and it should all kind of make sense to you, because I think it's very much needed. Very much needed. But that is my time. You guys are the noobs. I am the one and only Noob at Hard. You're the best. If you have not yet, shame on you. Definitely go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification button so you guys can stay up to date with all of my content. In case you don't know, I have games uploaded weekly on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Icarus is currently not on a schedule, but since I am playing it every day, and I will continue to play it every day until it becomes old news, you guys can expect at least 2 to 3 videos a week from Icarus, from me, from your boy, Noob and Hard, bringing you all the noobish content that I can on the Noob Network. That's a lot of noobs. That is a lot of noobs. Anywho, I'll catch you guys in the next one.